Right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me out today. I hope you're all keeping well. Um, so today we'll be talking about AMRs and specifically an introduction to the MiR mobile industrial robots. We've recently taken on the distributorship for MiR within Ireland. So it's just to advise on their kind of capabilities. So what we'll be looking through now today, we'll do a brief introduction into Reliance, just for those personnel who aren't familiar with us. Maybe it's your first time jumping onto webinars now within this series. And then we'll just have a quick look at the differences between AMRs and AGVs. So AGVs have been around now for quite some time, whereas AMRs are a little bit more of a recent technology. So just to differentiate there now between the two. We'll jump into then MiR themselves, talk a little bit about the company and the kind of products that they manufacture and their capabilities. One of the major things behind them is their ease of setup and how quickly they can be introduced into the environments. So we'll jump on that, and then also how it is that they achieve this and what the kind of technologies that they utilize are in there, as well as all the safety considerations. We'll then look through, once we've seen kind of the products, how they're actually utilized within industry. And we'll talk about kind of some of the resources that are there available to kind of help you out in actually introducing these. So this webinar will be recorded. So if there's any information that you want to check back over after this is complete, we'll be sending out a recording of it. And similarly, for anybody who couldn't join us there now today, we can flick on afterwards. If you've got any questions during the presentation, feel free to throw them in the chat section, and one of our other colleagues here on the line now will be able to answer any of the queries. But if we don't get to the answer during this presentation, be sure that we'll make contact and email you back following. So firstly, just a quick introduction into Reliance. So Reliance Automation, we're a division of Reliance. Originally, they're Reliance Bearing and Gear Company. Now, Reliance has been going for almost 100 years now at this stage, distributing within Ireland. Started back in 1925 into the fourth generation of a family-owned business. And we're a large technical distributor of maintenance and automation products. And we work in most industries around Ireland. Definite kind of focuses in around food production, the life sciences, manufacturing and transport areas. And we're also an ISO 9001 company. And in everything we do, we always kind of strive to provide the best technical response while giving you good service and also value for money. So Reliance, we've got 3 branches in Ireland. We've got the Dublin branch where I'm located. We've also got one down in Limerick as well, and another, our head office is down in Cork. About 50 personnel on board with us now at this time, covering the whole country for the different areas and the products we represent. And kind of the main thing to note is that Reliance are a distributor in the true sense of the word. So we're not an integrator. A lot of the products that we sell would be out-of-the-box solutions that could be utilized for companies that don't have a huge amount of automation experience within them. But for kind of more complicated processes that require a bit of design, etc., we work with an awful lot of the integrators in and around Ireland. And each one of these integrators will have specialities in terms of the areas that they can address, whether that be kind of food sector or pharmaceutical, etc. And then also in their locales and the geography that they're covering. So between the two of us, we're able to kind of address any of the needs that you may have and come up with a solution for problems in your industry or the challenges you may have. And just before I jump into MiR's introduction, just wanted to go through the AMRs, so autonomous mobile robots against AGVs, the automated, automated guided vehicles, apologies. Because AGVs, as I said, have been out there now for quite some time, whereas the AMR technology is just the next iteration of this, and there's a few differences in between them in their terms of their capabilities. So AGVs, typically they'll require some sort of guidance system in terms of like either tracks along the floor is probably the most common one, to be able to guide them from location to location. So what happens with this is if they're to come in front of an obstruction, they can't actually physically move off that track, and it requires them to stop and somebody to come along and actually move that obstacle. It also makes it quite expensive to change it, so they're not particularly flexible. You've got to go in there, set it down your tracks, and have a fair bit of forward planning in terms of the areas you're going to be going into. And if you need to change that along the case, it's a case of putting down new tracks and changing it around. So they're somewhat restricted in that case. Whereas the AMRs, these systems don't actually require tracks. All the guidance is actually done by the unit itself, creating a map and then actually planning a route around that area. And with the use of the sensors that it's got, it can actually detect if it comes up against an obstacle, whether that be something that's, say, like a pallet that's in the way or a person, and it can then plan a different route around that. And you can set how many times that it will try to do this before it provides an error. So that can be any time from kind of 10 anyway up to 100. So it can run through this, and it just means that you don't necessarily have to be on hand to be able to assist the robot between locations. If there is something that's unexpected, it has the intelligence in there to be able to move it around. So now that we know what AMRs are, we'll jump into the MiRs specifically. So MiR are mobile industrial robots, and they're a relatively young company now, and they started in 2013 in Denmark. And the story in behind them is that the team that actually came up with universal robots a few years earlier, they then sold universal robots onto Teradyne, and some of the members from that then started to focus on the AMR side. Then they created the MiR unit, and it was actually so successful that Teradyne actually purchased that company as well. So they're all part of the same group now, and there's a lot of synergies in between them, both based in Denmark and then also kind of in the applications. And you can see universal robots get inserted on top of a MiR unit for some of the activities. So even though they're a relatively young company now, they've got over 200 employees around the world, and they've put a huge amount of that manpower into the research and development in behind the products. So they're constantly moving on, increasing the product range. Like they initially started with the MiR 100, 200, have up to 1,000 now at this stage. And then the 250 that just came out there very, very recently. And also we've got an extensive support network. So ourselves here in Ireland are the representatives for any kind of local support there. So at this point, kind of the best thing to do is just to show a quick video which kind of goes through showing what the MiR units can do and how to utilize that, just to give you a quick introduction before we jump into any of the major details.
Imagine a fleet of collaborative mobile robots that could optimize your workflow, increase productivity, and reduce costs. What if it was 100% automated and could collaborate with employees? And what if it was fast and easy to integrate into any type of factory layout? Sounds like something from the future, right? Actually, it isn't. Let me introduce you to mobile industrial robots, MiR, an efficient and flexible mobile industrial robot solution. So how exactly does the MiR fleet work? Let's have a look. Now the employee here would like to send the item he's just finished working on to the next production line. With the press of a button, a MiR robot is summoned. Once the button has been pressed, a signal is sent to the MiR fleet management software. The fleet management software runs behind the scenes and manages all the MiR robots. The system automatically instructs the appropriate robot to navigate to the source point. The item is placed on the robot and is ready for transit to its destination. The robot drives 100% autonomously and can easily navigate around obstacles on its way. The fleet management software automatically adjusts traffic in real time, ensuring that everything runs smoothly and efficiently. Now the robot has delivered the item to its destination. If there's nothing else in the queue, the robot can be set up to automatically park in a preset parking spot and recharge. The robots can also be summoned via tablet, automatic communication from production lines, or via your ERP system. You even have the possibility to create rush orders that are placed in the front of the order queue. Because the robots drive autonomously, they can perform complex maneuvers, such as navigating across multiple floors. If a robot encounters an obstacle that it can't navigate around, a notification is automatically sent to the user that an action is required. When the item has reached its destination, the robot automatically sends a notification. The top modules are easy to change, so the robot can be redeployed for different tasks, whether transporting small, medium, or large items. We've got the solution to automate your internal transportation and logistics. Programming the MiR robots is simple. The user-friendly and intuitive interface allows for fast and hassle-free implementation. And you get customizable dashboards that make it easy for you to tailor the interface to your individual needs. At MiR, we know that factory layouts change rapidly. That's why we made it easy to reprogram routes. A few clicks and you're ready to go. It's that simple. MiR is one of the fastest growing companies in collaborative robotics. Our solutions are used all around the world and are helping companies to increase productivity, profitability, and to streamline workflows. Contact us today to learn more about how we can help automate your factory layout. MiR Robots.
So I hope that was a good quick intro, just showing some of the features and how these things operate. Let's go in a bit more detail, like the way it navigates around the facility is by the sensors, and when we pop open the hood in a couple of slides time, you can actually see exactly which sensors are in it. And these are the ones that detect the surroundings. You use these for mapping the facility initially, and then also for the actual navigation then when it's doing its local routes around the facility. So it's very, very reactive in terms of how it can sense its surroundings and personnel coming towards it. And it can run at various speeds and different safety settings as well, depending on what you're having on top of the unit or what activities that it's conducting. They're very, very simple to program. We'll run through actually the setup process just to show how easy it is to go, but essentially kind of as soon as you get the unit in its box, you can have it up and running within an hour or so. The software as well that these utilize, it's MiR's own software, and this is constantly updated. So this software comes with the unit itself, so you can run an individual unit from that software, hook it up to your local Wi-Fi to control it remotely from a desktop, or you can control it as you walk around from a mobile device. And then there's also the MiR fleet. So if it's a case where you have more than one robot, you can have a centralized location for coordinating all the tasks in that complete fleet rather than having to utilize individual robots. And on top of the actual MiR functionality itself, they've also got a huge amount of additional pieces, such as like the tow cables, etc., that can be incorporated into these units to increase their functionality. So here we have kind of a snapshot of the MiR range directly. So the way they name their units is MiR, and then followed by that is the payload which that robot can handle directly onto the unit. So say, for example, there the first one in the line is MiR 100. I can handle a pallet for 100 kilos. And these go all the way up to MiR 1000, so taking on a ton of weight. So they've recently released a MiR 250 there now in the last couple of months. And in a lot of cases, the actual payload when they're towing rather than actually just lifting directly is actually a lot higher. So I believe the MiR 100 can take up to kind of 200 kilos when it's pulling along. Similarly, the 200 can take up to about 500 kilos or so. So there's a bit of flexibility there in terms of solutions. So on top of the MiR units themselves, MiR actually manufacture a few accessories that go along with these. So the likes of the MiR lifts there. So if you're having a palletizing application, you can actually place the pallet on top of a little stage, and then the MiR unit can come underneath that stage to collect the pallet. They've also got their own charging stations as well. So these can be just bolted to the wall, and then the unit can actually find its way there. And we mentioned kind of the MiR fleece then for when you have more than kind of one unit and want to go into programming priority tasks and things like that for your fleet. So essentially the fleet software will have a look at all the units that are available around your facility, check which ones aren't currently performing a task and can utilize that robot. And then there's other things like setting up automatic charging routines as well, so that if it's not being utilized, it can run back home and make sure that it's ready for the next task when it's required. They've also got cameras then that integrate with this fleet to help with the navigation of the facility, but also especially when you've got things like shelving that you're carrying around to ensure that there's no collisions kind of at a height. And then we've also seen the MiR hook as well. So for when you're not actually loading the trolley directly, or you want to drag a trolley in behind you, they have this capability as well. And there's additional features in that, such as kind of braking systems, etc., and more sensors. So as well as what MiR manufacture themselves, they also have an ecosystem called MiR Go. So this would be very similar to the UR Plus concept if you're familiar with universal robot units. So essentially, third parties design up parts. So these may be conveying systems, shelving units, or ways to integrate robots onto the top of the MiR units. And then these are certified then by MiR themselves. So they have a look at the design and the software and all the other applications that deal into that, and then certify them within their system. And then on their website, then you can see all the different applications that these are associated with. So it's not just the MiR units itself, you've got access to a huge range of functionality within that. So since we've talked about kind of the features and the units themselves, we'll have a quick look at the setup. Now, we said it's very easy. We recently got our unit into Limerick there a few months back, all right, when we had our own test day with it. And it is just as they say. So essentially, the MiR unit comes in a wooden crate, and what you've just got to do is drop the four sides off the crate. You've then got to power on the unit, so just take off the hood and flick a few switches, put on the emergency stop onto the unit, and then once it's powered up, you connect your mobile phone or tablet or laptop. Mobile phone tends to be the easiest piece, and you essentially get a joystick and you just drive it off, and then you're good to start your programming journey. Now, after that, you'll then start to kind of map your facility, and kind of depending on the size of the facility, this can take maybe kind of an hour or so, depending on how many floors you're looking at. But like our Limerick warehouse was mapped within the hour. And then after that, you can just start setting tasks directly into the software. So very, very quick and easy to set up. And in case you don't believe me, I've just got a video here that kind of just shows you exactly those kind of steps that it goes through. So yeah, very, very simple. So after we've had a look at what these units could do and how we set them up, we'll just go into a little bit more of the technical side of things and how they actually achieve this then. So here we have one of the MiR units, MiR 100 there now, and essentially it's just got the top module pulled off it, and then you can see all the internal pieces within there. The kind of the first piece on it is just there on the left-hand side, which is the front of the robot, is the 3D scanner. So this scans the environment and kind of specifically picking out pieces at a height so that you can actually see what's around it. Then in both of the corners there, the bottom left and the top right, you've got two 6 safety scanners. And what these do is they give kind of 270 degrees of view around the robots, so that once these are consolidated then within the system software, you've got full 360-degree information being fed back into it. The blue device there on the right hand side is then the battery pack. So in this unit there's one battery, but in some of the models you can also have 2 batteries to increase the life of the unit then as well. Apologies. So you can see the power supply then and the drive system and the contactors there are all contained within the meshed unit there now, as to not cause any interference within the unit. And then in the bottom right, you've got the LAN connections there for actually setting up your Wi-Fi and for connecting into it. So the robot actually utilizes the scanners as well as encoders within the motors to be able to locate itself and tell it where it is at any given time. So here we have just on the right hand side, just a kind of a picture of those scanners then in operation. So you've got the 3D scanner at the front, which gives you an arc of view in front of the unit, and then the laser scanners, which are running around the sides. I forgot to mention there's also kind of ultrasonic scanners in each one of the corners as well, which help to detect any pieces that are kind of directly at the side or kind of underneath almost the unit, so as to not kind of come in contact with any very, very low hanging pieces. And then on the bottom there is kind of a map of a facility once you've kind of run it around there. And this one is actually kind of being edited to add certain areas within there. So like the reds are kind of no-go zones essentially, and then different kind of waypoints and areas that you allow the robot to run through with different speeds. So that once you've actually scanned your area, we do kind of say it's worth spending kind of the most time actually setting up your map, because as long as you've got a good map and a good representation of your facility, all the programming will go quite easily then afterwards. So as well as the kind of standard units, there's also units that have ESD and clean room classification as well. So kind of the smaller MiR units, the 100 to 200 and 250, they're clean room certified. So they've got different aspects on them there that help them with containing the dust that might come off any of the wheels or anything. And also they're electrostatically protection certified as well. You can get that option, so they can be utilized in a variety of industries. So like pharmaceuticals or electronics manufacturer would probably be the two most common now that these would be seen in or required in. And this just allows you to essentially go from a clean room environment out into say like the warehousing area, saving personnel from kind of degowning and pulling their stuff on and off the whole time. These units can kind of transfer in between and save an awful lot of time in the logistics from that perspective. So now that we've seen the range and what they can do, we've just got a few kind of application videos here now to just kind of give you a snapshot of where these have been utilized in real industry.
We are constantly looking for ways to optimize our productivity and efficiency. The use of mobile robots enables us to implement these optimizations in order to improve our efficiency, productivity, and safety.
They autonomously transport material and empty containers between warehouse and assembly. For this task, they're equipped with the MiR hook.
We use MiR as a conveyor belt. We use it to transport our semi-finished products and our finished goods, but from production cell to production cell.
3 MiR transport robots are now the adaptable link between different production lines. This is a new way to produce that enables Camstrup to upscale without any production downtime.
We are currently using 7 of them with 3 different top modules. They are capable of detecting obstacles, and we not only track their location, but also their task at all times.
We started on the MiRs just doing manual assembly line stuff in a very basic format. We upgraded the MiRs to have a conveyor system on them. They can now go down to the warehouse and collect raw material, and then they can deliver that to the lines. By putting the conveyor on the MiR, we gain the flexibility of being able to move anything where we want around the factory.
Fortunately with MiR, they have an open interface so we can connect third-party equipment to the robots.
We chose MiR as our mobile robot because it was a flexible solution in which we could see a lot of potential.
Well, we were looking for a solution that could have the payload up to 500 kilograms, and MiR was up there for the task. And we were also looking for a solution that would be easy to set up and fast to start operating. And we also were looking for, of course, a safe system that could work with the truck drivers. This has increased our productivity.
We have already proven that these robots are able to learn their route by themselves, as well as that they are perfectly able to interact with our employees and forklift trucks in complete safety.
Making the robot easy to use was extremely important to us. I would split the ease of use into 2 parts. First, how easy it is to use the robot itself, and second, how easy it is to use our application.
Yeah, so there we just have a quick snapshot, and you can see they're utilized in a variety of different industries for a variety of different tasks. So really it's just a case of having a discussion then to look at your applications and how they can potentially help the logistics procedures within your facilities. So getting started with these robotics, or even kind of robotics in general, a big piece that we find is a little bit of a barrier is that personnel have applications and they want to integrate these kind of technologies, but unfortunately don't have the upfront capital to be able to achieve this. So MiR have finance partners, and just to let you know that the options are available there and very, very flexible. So depending on your situation, these can be set up for different terms, maybe 2 years, 5 years. They've got quite low rates now at the minute. And they also offer a huge amount of flexibility in terms of the actual payments schedules. So if it's a facility that potentially has a seasonal cash flow due to the production, this can be incorporated into the financing as well, so that you can pay more during your busy periods and less during when you're a little bit quiet. It also gives you the opportunity of deciding what it is you want to do at the end of the lease period, whereas if it's a case that you want to purchase the robot outright, or it's a case where you essentially want to send the robot back and then get the latest technology, this is available as well. So just to let you know that that is kind of out there and available if the issue within your facility is that kind of initial capital. As well as the finance side of things, there's an awful lot of resources that are available to kind of help you out on this kind of starting journey. So if you're not necessarily using the automated logistics in some way, or if it's a case where you are and you just want to kind of optimize processes within your facility, they have a range of resources that are available to kind of help along this as well. So MiR have done a good few white papers in association with several other different industry leaders, and these are across kind of different ranges, whether it be kind of pharmaceutical or automotive, etc. And then also looking into the kind of different specific aspects, whereas if there's one, like say, on the actual safety mechanism specifically, or the programming. So there's an awful lot of information there in terms of blogs and kind of technical papers that can be read into. If you've not got as much kind of time, they also have the MiR Academy. So even if you don't have a MiR unit, you can log on to their academy and essentially kind of do the first few programming tutorials. So these wouldn't take kind of any more than an hour or so, and it just kind of gives you a good indication about how easy it is to kind of set up these. Now on their website as well, they've also got a huge amount of videos and case stories. So if it's the case that you're in a specific industry or have a specific application and you want to see if it's something that has been done before, or what types of equipment have been utilized for that and how they've actually tackled the challenge and what solution has come up with, there's a huge amount of examples there as well available. And kind of last but not least, there's ourselves here at Reliance Automation. It's exactly what we're here for, is to kind of discuss your requirements and kind of guide you in the path and say what would be required in order to integrate that into your system and help you with the kind of return on investment calculations and things like that to make the case for it. So my contact details are at the end of the page, should you have any queries at all on any of the content that's been here now today. So that kind of takes us to the end of the presentation. As I said, just a quick introduction initially, all right. We can definitely go into a huge amount more detail on any of the points, but it's just kind of to demonstrate the capabilities and how prevalent they are now out in the industry. And thank you very much for the time.